Good morning. It's Monday morning, February the 6th of 2023. I just wanted to get on here this morning and say thank you to everybody that has sent me birthday messages for my 70th birthday. Yesterday was my 70th birthday, Sunday, the 5th of February. And last year, about a year ago today, uh, I was in the hospital with the infamous bug that we won't mention by name. Starts with a C and it ends with a 19. I was in and out of consciousness for about the first 5 days, and I was there for a week in the hospital, came home and self quarantined an extra 2 or 3 weeks beyond what they asked me to. And I got to looking through all of my notifications yesterday, and I must have had a couple of hundred really nice birthday wishes, not only from this year, but from last year. Because if you remember, last year I only turned 69. On my 69th birthday, that's when I went to the hospital via ambulance. Okay. I didn't think I was going to be that serious, but yeah, I got it, the original, and I fought through it and got out, and I was weak as a kitten, but we made it. We made it back. We got back into the swing of things, and there for a while, I thought, I'll just wrap it up and retire and quit coaching and quit mentoring and but I didn't. Okay, I stayed with it. Uh, I'm gonna send uh, on my timeline. I'm going to, just kind of keep people abreast of what's going on. I decided to get back into the coaching game with paid clients. I do have some paid clients. I'm just not taking on anymore. Uh, uh, I'm just not taking on any more uh, paid clients or students for right now. We do have a mastermind coming up in a couple of weeks where we're going to invite you to come and sit in on a mastermind with some master marketers that I work with, that I have worked with for the past 20, 25 years. Big names in the market, okay? There's not going to be any attendance fee. You can show up and watch, but if you want to attend in the live session, you can pay an attendance fee, okay, as a member of the mastermind. But if you want to sit in and watch, it's not going to cost you anything. We are going to broadcast it, okay? So you can take notes and you can learn some things, how to free yourself from the 9 to 5. 2023, this year, is probably going to be the decisive year that a lot of people make a decision to get out of the rat race. Now, not all of you, not all 170 million of American workers are going to jump ship and go, and become an entrepreneur. Let's face it, most people just don't. They either don't have it or they don't understand how. Maybe they're not entrepreneurially minded. Who knows? Uh, it's not, it's not an indictment against them if they don't. Okay. But if they don't know and they decide that they want to learn, yes, it is learnable, or, it is a learning curve, as some people would say. For some, it's probably a little steeper than a learning curve. It's a learning incline or a mountain climb, but it's not that hard to learn when you have someone who can mentor you. Okay. So I just want to encourage you guys that, look, I'm 70 years old. I just turned 70. And I made a round trip from Lubbock to Amarillo yesterday, spent the day up in Amarillo with some very dear friends of mine, and then drove back and came home, spent the day here, and then rested up on my birthday. I didn't get a cake. I don't need a cake. I don't need all the attention. I don't need people sending me birthday gifts and checks. No, don't need that. Okay. What I would like to share with you is you need to put a plan together, okay, to build a residual income or a secondary income or a rainy day fund or something like that. And it might cost you some investment of time and money. Might cost you $50 a month, might cost you $150, $200 a month, but you need to look at what you're going to do, okay, what you can afford, and then what you can afford to put into it. But if you don't have the time or the gumption, as we say down here in Texas, to put in the effort to learn it, then, maybe you should just go off and find another job flipping burgers over at Burger King or McDonald's or something like that. And get another minimum wage job. There's an interesting documentary that came out on Netflix about the closing of an American factory up in, I think it was Chicago or something. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but if you're on Netflix, you can probably find it. But it used to be an old GM plant, and it was bought by a big Chinese conglomerate, okay? And they're bringing over all these Chinese workers because this is based on a true story, okay? And the Chinese just kind of put their head down and work, for half of minimum wage, I don't know what the minimum wage is up in Detroit or Chicago. What is it? $13, $15, $18 an hour, more than the national minimum wage. Some states or more. But the American workers that had gotten laid off were, getting in there and saying, we got to unionize, we can't live on this. Good morning, Nancy. Thank you for showing up. How have you been doing, hon? I have missed our chats, you and me. Yeah, Nancy says $15 an hour in Southern Illinois, minimum wage. Okay, so imagine working for half of that, $7.50, and that's what I think national minimum wage. So some state minimum wages are double that, maybe more in California. No wonder some of these states are going broke because they have to borrow money from the federal government, and then the federal government has to borrow money from you, the taxpayer. Okay. And then on top of that, I'm going to get real political now. Okay. I'm going to get real political. Good morning, my brother, my brother Jack. He's going to be down here in the next couple of days or so. But yeah, I'm going to get real political. Okay. Everybody wants to complain about the illegals coming over here and Governor Abbott and Ron DeSantis sending them up to Martha's Vineyard in Washington, D.C. Well, you know, you can put that on this president administration. Okay. They don't know what they're doing. Got a bunch of fools trying to run the country, and you're paying for it. Okay. Then they put these people in a 4- and 5-star hotel. And we're not talking about families, because families have already been brought up here in place, moms and children and everything. And I love kids. It breaks my heart to see kids and abused moms and women, uh, get hurt in the system or by individuals. Okay. But these are not moms and children going into the hotels. Okay. These are able-bodied men who are saying, oh, I need to escape the violence in my country. What violence? I don't read of any wars and everything going on down there. But then again, okay, it's enough that it would irk you that you're paying for it. $400 and $500 a day in these nice 4- and 5-star hotels. What really gets me is when these miscreants from other countries are in these motels, not motels, but hotels, 4- and 5-star. I don't know of any 4- and 5-star motels. These are hotels, okay? In Washington, D.C., New York City, big cities, sanctuary cities, call them what you want. They're out there protesting. We're putting them up, able-bodied men, young men, 20s, 30s, 40s, able-bodied men, not women and children, men. We're putting them up in these hotels. And then they're outside protesting, biting the hand that is feeding them. Now, you can say what you want to, but I don't think this would have happened under a different administration, starting with D and ending with T. I'm just saying. So, you look at the price of eggs, they've doubled. Last time I was up at United grocery store 2-3 years ago, just before the election, if you want to call it that, the price of extra large 1 dozen was $2.19. That same dozen now, you would think the chickens went on strike. $5.62 a dozen. That's a little bit better than 200%, okay? That's a little bit more than double, all right? Well, you can complain about the price of gas and the price of eggs and chicken and bird flu and all that, all right? Or you can get a second job, or you can go out there and create your own income stream. My brother Jack, he's created his own income stream over the past 20, 25 years. When we were up in Tulsa, he bought a computer and bought a book on Visual Basic. And we sitting out in the garage office one day, and he looked at me. He said, "You think I could learn to do this?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You read through the book, do the exercises, do what it says. Yeah, you can learn." And he did. And he's moved on to create a lot of different things over the past 20, 25 years, building websites, e-commerce sites. He's got some physical products that he sends out because he had the idea up here. I didn't have to implant it, even though he's my brother. It's not something like it's just genetic. Okay. You don't have to be related to someone to do this, but if you think you can do it and you really want to, you will do whatever you need to do. Okay. I don't care if you're 70, 80, 84. I was sitting at the table with a couple of men yesterday after church, 84 years old. They 14 years my senior, and they're still kicking and running. Okay. One of them was on the city council of the city of Amarillo, a good friend of mine. Yeah. I have a few politicians in my bevy of friends. Have a few authors and a few movie stars and a few wannabes. but I also have a lot of regular friends, who say, "Well, yeah, that's easy for you to say." No, it's not. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy for the past 20, 25 years. It hasn't been easy, for a lot of people to get out there and find another income or create one. So, yeah. Good morning, my friend, my brother. Good to see you. I really appreciate Doug. I get to watch him and Ken Walls a lot, and him and Ken and sometimes Glenn Morshire and Scott McCain, Scotty, they all get together. If you guys don't know who Doug Wing is, you need to get his book over at Amazon. Doug, if you've got a link to your book over on Amazon, you can plug it into the comments and I'll highlight it so people can go over there and get it. Doug wrote an excellent book about his dad, Mr. Hal Wing. Mr. Wing is the quintessential example of what we are supposed to do for one another. Hal Wing was the founder of the Little Giant Ladder Company, one of the biggest ladder companies, in my opinion, the world, and here in the United States. Definitely the best ladder. Okay. They're the best ladders I've ever seen. You can pick them up at Lowe's. You can order them from the Little Giant website and have them shipped to you. You can get them over at Home Depot and just about any hardware store. Look for the Little Giant ladder. Well, anyway, Doug wrote a book or two. I think 2 books. Doug, correct me if I'm wrong. Put the links in the comments so I can highlight it for you. And he tells a story about his dad helping people, you know, who were in need of not just a job, but a life change. And he changed lives. Uh, I tell you what, the man Hal Wing and Doug Wing, his son, are both very inspiring people. You've got to get his book. So Doug, if you have it, otherwise I'd try to go find it and put it on there. Ah, here it is. Go to www.giant.success.com. Is that giant.success or giant success? Let's see. Maybe I could share my screen. Let's see if I can't find it over here on my timeline. Get over here, and I'm just here having a conversation with you guys, with friends and family. And, I went through my notifications yesterday and today, and last night, with people coming in. Yeah, it looks like he's got a space in there for giant, and it's got a space between success. So take the space out. www.giantsuccess.com. Okay. Let me see if that works for me. Let me jump over here. Otherwise, I'll share my screen. Giantsuccess.com. And voila, it works. Okay. Yeah. So the link on the comments might not work, but it's also available on Amazon. Now, what I'll do here real quick, just kind of share my screen. You can go over here and select a tab, entire screen. I don't need to share the audio. And here, let me jump over here. So go to giantsuccess.com, okay, and get his book, The Giver. It's a very powerful story. Doug, I'm going to have to get a copy from you and send you the money for it to have you autograph it. I know Ken. Look at some of my comments over here. But you've got to get this book. Very inspiring. Read books like this to get inspired. Okay. Mr. Wing, there's a picture of him on the book with one of the ladders. Mr. Wing passed away several years ago, and he was one of the most formative and formidable personalities in Doug Wing's life. And you've got to get this. Some of the greatest authors in the world that we know have written reviews and praises for Doug's books, not just one, but two that I know of. I think Doug wrote another one. Mark Victor Hansen, he wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Gary Herbert, Jerry Jensen, Tom Mabey, Kurt Clausen. If you don't know these names, you just haven't been reading, okay? But yeah, Caleb Mansell. Go to Amazon. All right. I'm putting in a plug for Doug, okay? Doug's a friend. Let's say Amazon.com. And we go over here to search D-O-U-G, W-I-N-G, Doug Wing. Okay. Giant Success, Doug Wing. There it is. Giant Success is, I think, his first book. The Giver is his second book. It's also available on Kindle. And the rest of these are just some other books with the search term wing in it. These two books, paperback, leadership and business strategies, and then, of course, The Giver is his latest book. Both of them are, 4.5, 5 stars, 6 stars, 6-star ratings. Okay. Got to get these books. But anyway, I'm going to get back over here and stop sharing and just let you know that you can get over there and learn a lot. But what I want to get back to is you can complain about the price of eggs, or you can go out there and just make more money and afford them. Okay. I just got tired of complaining, and only had to do it once or twice. Okay. Only had to complain once or twice to get to the point of saying, I'm tired of hearing other people complain. So why do I want to get into that same pool? Okay, so I got out of it. So I just flipped the complaints on its head and said, no, I just find a solution to the complaints. And this is what you learn from Doug and his dad. Doug says he's starting another book about integrity. Okay. Now, integrity has, some very tight meanings to it. It means integrated, integral, where what you say is what you do, and what you do is what you say. It's who you are. It's what you are. Okay. And this is what Doug learned from his dad. He's like a carbon copy of his dad, when it comes to integrity. It's that stick-to-itiveness that his dad taught him, and how to be, a person of integrity. There's so much more to it. I could go on for hours, but I'm not going to bore you with it right now. Nancy, a dear friend of mine from Southern Illinois, is watching us, Doug, and she says, thank you. She remembers me talking about you guys, about Doug, Ken. Glenn Moorshire sent me a birthday message this morning. Glenn didn't have to do that, but Glenn is a man of integrity. He's a down-to-earth person. If you've watched the old 24 series with Kiefer Sutherland, Agent Aaron Pierce was played by Glenn Moorshire. He's also been in other movies, and the Transformers. He was in a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, and gosh, who else? I can't remember all the movies that Glenn's been in. Glenn is, he doesn't like to be called a movie star. He's an actor and a director and a producer. okay? But he's just a really down to earth, fine person. He's also a Texan, okay? So, you know, and then of course Doug knows Glenn. He knows Ken Walls. Ken, he was kind of an orphan Texan living up in Ohio. I love Ohio. Don't get me wrong. I love the Buckeyes. I got a best friend up there living in Ohio. He's really a kind of a Texan at heart, but he just hasn't moved here yet. He just doesn't know where he belongs. He'll probably be watching this right now. If he's not watching right now, he'll be watching the replay. Um, but Ken moved to Texas. Welcome home. Welcome home, son. He he was just, out there wandering around in other states for a while. I don't know. I think he lived in Florida for a while. But Ken is also an influencer. So, I'll do some masterminds with Ken and Doug sometime. I'll invite Doug and Ken and Glenn Morshire, and we can get on a Zoom call and do a mastermind sometime and let these guys share some ideas with you how to break free, get out of the slump. Because if you didn't do it over the past 2 years, if you haven't been watching the Ken and Glenn show and a guy named Scott, they kind of brought a community of people together. And this is how I met Doug, through these shows with Ken Walls. I met Ken through Grant Cardone. Usually it's the other way around. People meet Grant Cardone through Ken Walls, but they're both influencers. You're talking about some top-notch people here, okay, that are going to share some valuable information. If I can get them all nailed down on one date, and I know 2 weeks is probably moving a little fast. 2 weeks, maybe a month, but I'm shooting for 2 weeks. I've got some veterans in the internet marketing space that can point you in the right direction as far as the technology if you need to pursue some certain interest. But for the personal development, we've got some great people, and I hope I can get them on the show. I hope I can get them on the mastermind. I know they got some schedules, and I know they might not be able to attend. I might have to do a little short recording and then plug it in. I'm having to learn some of this editing stuff. Okay, I've been doing this stuff for about 20, 25 years. So even if, let me put my microphone up here so it doesn't hang off my shirt. Even if you're 70 years old, you can do this. You can learn it. All right. You don't have to be a genius to do this. You just have to have the desire, okay? And when I was looking, like I said, at my notifications of all the birthday messages, I was really touched. Some of them I hadn't seen for a year because last year I was in the hospital. When I was in the hospital, uh, I was just kind of, first 5 days, I think I was there for a week. I was just kind of in and out of consciousness. I wasn't on the internet. I don't think I had a whole lot going on. I might have sent, a text message to, one of my friends. And then I think I sent a text and a message over to my priest, my confessor. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I was just being a little too early on that, but I was talking to my doctor here a couple of months ago. He said, this is 8 months after the fact, when he was looking at my charts from when I was in the hospital last year. He says, you don't know how close you were. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you had one foot in the grave and the other one was on the hospital bed. You didn't have it on the floor. I said, really? He says, oh yeah. He said, look at your chart here. He said, it's pretty serious. But I had that fighting spirit to stay here because I wasn't finished. I had a lot to do. I had a lot of things going on that I wanted to share with people, because the fact is, it's kind of like I told my brother Jack last night. We were talking on the phone. We don't get to stay here forever. We don't get to stay here unless your name is Enoch or Elijah, and I think those two slots, I think they've already been taken. If you don't have a fiery chariot, you're probably not going to be around to see, the flight from here to the other side without passing through the toll gate. I'm working on a book. Speaking of books, Doug, I'm working on a book that I've been working on for several years. One of the books, it's a double volume. I've written some other books and taken them off the market because they just kind of got outdated. But this book is going to be kind of evergreen, and it's different. It's not a marketing book. It's called This Side of Eternity. The other book, the companion book, it'll be published as a double volume, and one single volume is called The Other Side of Eternity. Now, the other side of eternity is probably not a whole lot that any of us know about. We've been told about it, okay, what the other side of eternity is going to be like and what we can look forward to, all right? But this side of eternity is what we can remember about friends and family, what happened in the generational periods before us and our ancestors in our own lives. So we can remember that and share it, and make notes, keep a journal, sit down with a recorder and write a book. If you have a skill that you want to share with others, put it down on paper, start writing it. It's not that hard. You can get Notepad and just start pounding it out on Notepad, or put it in Word, okay? And then I learned an old trick from Dr. Joe Vitale, a friend of mine, another author. He said, open up your editor, your word processor, and then turn the monitor off, and then just start typing. Yeah, you're going to make some typos, but at least you won't be distracted with the idea of editing and cutting and pasting. Just start writing. And this is what Mark Victor Hansen and several other people and great authors say: write it down. Ken Wall says, write it down. Doug Wing says, write it down. And that's what he did. He wrote it down. Glenn Morshire, I don't know if he's ever sat down and write a book, but he has written some movies and scripts and screenplays and directing and played in some movies. But even the greatest have always started by grabbing a piece of paper and a book and a pen or word processor and writing it down. Just write it down. Okay, start writing. And this is why I wanted to record this real quick and say thank you to all the people that had sent me some birthday messages over the past, not just the past 24, 36, 48 hours, but for the past 365, 366 days. And previous to that, several years before that, they've sent me birthday messages every year and I didn't see them. It's just now caught up. And then, of course, last year, like I said, I didn't see anything because I wasn't paying attention to email, social media, nothing. I had my phone plugged up on a charger at the hospital in case I needed to call somebody. But other than that, man, I was out of it, you know. And I'm looking back at my profile and my notifications just in retrospect and saying, hey, they sent me another birthday message. And the one before it said February 5th, 2022. They sent me a birthday message a year ago. And I thought, wow, man, these people, you know, some of them I've never known. And I know a lot of it is because Facebook sends you a message and say, hey, so-and-so's got a birthday, tell them hi and send them good thoughts and all that. But I still appreciate it. So if you're watching this, I just want to let you know that you're not forgotten. I might not know you, and you can always chat me up, and I'll try to get back to you as often or as fast as I can. Here's a comment that my brother just came in and said, you know, you can carry a pocket recorder and speak notes and ideas for later. I've got one. I've got an old cassette recorder and an old mini cassette recorder. Well, now they got them on like a flash drive, don't they, Jack? I think they're like a digital recorder. Some of them, you know, it's like a little box. It might look like a little hard drive. It might be about the size. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you even have one in your phone. I'm looking on my phone here. All right. I'm looking at the apps on my phone, and there's voice recorders. Okay. So if you got a cell phone or you're watching this on a cell phone, and you probably have an app on your computer, you can record on your computer. I think you can go to Audacity or audible.com or something like that. They've got all kinds of programs you can use. You can record it with this. Or you can go live with StreamYard. You don't have to have a pro account with StreamYard. I'm not using a pro account. I don't use StreamYard that often. And I don't use the professional features of StreamYard that much to get a pro account. But I figure the free version of StreamYard broadcast into one channel on my timeline, that's enough. Okay. And I see a lot of people, I got almost 5,000 friends. Okay. See some old friends from Blanco, Debbie Vallone, John Doerr from San Antonio, I think. Angie, my sweetheart over in the Philippines, she's watching. Karen up in Tennessee, one of my students that I work with. Rick Gomez from El Paso, my buddy Rick. But yeah, you can use your phone. Your phone has a recording app on it already installed. Most of them do anyway. iPhones, Androids, you name it. Go in there and look around for it. Install it. If it's not on there, you can get it from the Play Store. Excuse me. Had to scratch my mustache. You can get it free and record your notes on it, okay? And then you can dictate it back, and type it out. You just have to learn, how to toggle the switch on it and toggle it off and on and record and start, stop, start a new recording. I don't know what the limitations are on the size of the files on these recording devices, but it'll let you know. But just getting back to saying thank you again, for the birthday messages. I really appreciate that. But I wanted to get one more thing. And say, make today, don't have a good day, but make today a good day. And live it like it was going to be your last day. Because it could be. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail and personal information, but we've had some neighbors here in the neighborhood that have gone on to the other side of eternity. They've passed on, they've reposed, they've passed away. Okay. And had some friends of ours and family members that have passed on, and recently we've had some people that we knew very close to us that took a sudden turn south, in their health, and they've passed on. So we don't get the guarantee of tomorrow. Tomorrow is kind of a toss-up. Do what you can right now to help others and to build your income, get out of the 9 to 5 and be a blessing to others. 9 to 5, it's all right, but it's not all about the money. It's about what can you do? How can you be a blessing to others with the money that you make? But it's just all about you and all about the money. Because I can guarantee you, if all you're, and Doug can tell you, Doug will probably agree with me as Mr. Howe would. If it was just all about the money, and you're not out there to help someone, you probably won't get very far. But if you're really interested in being a blessing to the world and helping others, even if it's just one person at a time, okay, I know some people that have been a blessing to others, many, many others, okay. They've stepped up to the plate and they have been a blessing to others, and they've gone on and not complained about the price of eggs, but they've gone out and, created a solution to the price of eggs. And they've used that to be a blessing to others, to help them. And they will definitely leave a legacy to themselves, by their actions. By their actions, or as James the Apostle would say, by their fruits you shall know them. Okay. So with that, I'm going to close. It's been about 49 minutes of me just sitting here rambling. And appreciate you stopping by. I wanted to say hi to everybody and thank everybody for showing up. Sandy Johnson, oh, sweetheart, love of my life. Yeah, Got to admit it, girl. You were always number one in my heart. Wished I could be there with you, holding you in my arms and just, saying hi. Rick, an old friend of mine, I met down there in Houston one day. We were just over at the doctor's office. I was taking my older brother over to one of his physical therapy sessions when he had his knee surgery. And we were sitting out in the lobby, and I run into Rick when he was living in Houston before he moved back to El Paso. I used to work in El Paso, and Rick and I became fast friends. John Doerr, we've been friends for a long time. Debbie Vallone, Homier, realtor friend of mine in Blanco, Texas. We've been friends for years. Nancy and I, we've been friends for, years, and co-workers. We've been involved in a lot of internet marketing venues. Nancy Plass, just a great person. Angie, my sweetheart over in the Philippines, she's watching from La Union right now. She lives in Baguio, but she's going up to her mama's place and checking on her mama's place every 2 or 3 weeks, every 4 weeks or so. Diana Manning, appreciate you being here. Karen Cincy, Anderson. Anybody else that shows up that I don't see your name on the list, appreciate you stopping by. Okay. On a final note, if you're running a business and you need to build a list, there's 2 resources that I could highly recommend for you. You can write this down. It's listelevate.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com. List Elevate is a viral list builder. It's just kind of a generic. You can promote whatever you want to through it. $9.97 a month, $10 a month, a viral list builder. Get yourself a copy of it. If you have an online business, if you have an offline business, you still need a list, because all the big, I'm going to call them players, okay? All the big players that you see on the internet that's making all the big bucks, the one thing they're using is email, okay? That's how they're doing it. You're not going to make money without an email list. I don't care if you're selling gun holsters or if you're doing web work and design work, you need a list, okay? And a viral list builder is just going to build it for you exponentially, all right? How you monetize that list is up to you. Let's say you have a product. Well, let's say crypto. You got a crypto product, okay, you want to sell. Not an investment, but a signaling software product, okay? You could be punching it through something like List Elevate or my lead gen secret for a small ticket buyer group. MLGS is kind of a low ticket list of people. Or if you want to get in and play with the big boys, find a publisher over at the DOE, the Directory of E-Zines. Now, this is not ezinearticles.com, because back several years ago, Google put the slap on article directories. This is not an article directory. This is the phone book of publishers, the Directory of E-Zines, DOE. doe.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com. It's a one-time fee of $197. I don't know if Charlie's going to go up on it or not. We had a webinar here about a month ago. But it's got a resource in there of over 1,000 publishers in different categories and genres, you know, from aircraft, automotive. You got an automotive product like a fuel tab you want to sell. There's publishers in there where you can publish. Okay. You can spend the next 20 years in thousands of hours, and time is money, and you're going to be spending a lot of money looking for stuff and never finding the right publisher to work with. Or you can get the phone book. Okay. Get the phone book to these publishers, which is the directory of e-zines, doe.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com. And this is what you're trying to do. Complaining about the price of eggs is not going to make yourself recession proof. Taking action, okay, finding the products to match them with the publisher. You can take a health and fitness product and put it through the health and fitness genre. All right. You can take a crypto product and push it through a publisher in the crypto genre category. You can take a home-based business. You can take an automotive product. There's over 92 million opted-in subscribers in this phone book. These are not cold leads. These are people who will buy your stuff, okay? If you're selling a book on personal development, guess what? They have publishers in there that will work with you. You know, this would be perfect for reaching a targeted audience where, let's say you're publishing a book up on Amazon, and you're going to get some sales off of that. I don't know how many sales you would make off of a good book, even a #1 bestseller. But if you have a targeted niche of people who are interested in personal development, and there's niches in this directory, they might have a subscriber list of a couple of 100,000 that they email to every day. And you can send your sponsored ad or a banner to them or whatever. You don't have to be a writer. You don't have to write an article. Like I said, this is not an article directory. This is a directory like a phone book of advertisers in specific genres. You know, you could be publishing through targeted ads. And it takes about, I'd say it takes about 2 weeks for you to brand yourself to someone, to brand them in their mind and in their memory, to kind of burn it in. Depending on the publisher, you might spend $20 a month. You might spend $20,000 a month on your ad spend. You know, it depends on the publisher. You have to work with each one of them. And that's the thing. This is not solo ads. You're not going to be just going in there and buying a bunch of clicks and then putting in your link and then hoping for the best and then hoping they stick. No, this is totally different level. This is a totally different level of advertising. It's like native ads and targeted genres and categories. Okay, so check out the doe.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com. And then get yourself another copy and start building your list. so that you can back end them and get them opted into your own list, build your own list. They say that you can make an average of $1 a month off of your leads if you have them, you know, packaged in there right and segmented right. There's a big science to email marketing. Okay, I've got a little over 500,000 leads. Am I making $500,000 a month? No. What does that mean? That means I got to segment a bunch of the dead wood out. Okay, that means I just got to segment a lot of the dead wood out. Okay. Can you make some serious money with a small list? Yeah. You could take a small list of 2 or 3, 5, 600, 2 or 3,000 people and make a decent living with it. You might make, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 a month. You might make $4,000 or $5,000 a month, depending on what you're promoting. If it's residual or if it's one-time CPA, it's kind of up to you. But you won't know that, and you won't know the back end secrets until you get on the mastermind, where we can show you how. This is not going to cost you anything to sit here and watch. Okay. To get into the mastermind itself, as far as the Master Marketers Academy, yeah, there's a cost to that, and we can discuss that, because, you know, it's different levels of teaching and support, and we can show you how to do this. I'm not going to show you all my stats. I'm not going to show you all that, because I like to fly under the radar. I don't like the IRS and the tax man any more than you do. And I sure don't like them giving my tax money to miscreants protesting out in front of a hotel that you're paying for. Okay, but that's my political spur for the moment. All right. So get yourself a copy of the DOE at doe.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com. $197 once off. Okay. And I'll show you how to use it. Okay. I'll show you how to maximize this tool. I've had it for going on 20 years. Okay. The next one, you want to go to listelevate.makeyourselfrecessionproof.com and get yourself a paid copy, $9.97 a month, and start building. Get on our training classes. I'm working with Clay Montgomery, one of the top-notch marketers on the internet. Clay used to live up in Owasso, Oklahoma. He moved off of Owasso and went over to the Philippines and married a pretty little young girl over there. Just got a little baby girl. I think the baby's less than 6 months old now. Just growing up, and he's happily living over there. He's retired. He used to run the dfysolos.com. Everything now we're sending through Solo Ad Universe as far as solo ads go, with Zane Kendrick. Some of the best solo ads I've ever bought, if you're going to do solo ads. Okay. I try solo ad vendors with this and that and others, and there's some I won't use again. And there's some I'll give them a chance. If I don't like the results, I won't use them again, and I won't recommend them. But I've always had good results with Solo Ad Universe, Zane Kendrick, because he was the main supplier and publisher for DFY Solos. If you go to dfysolos.com, it'll just give you a button, say, we're closed, you know, and you go over here and buy your leads from Zane over at Solo Ad Universe. Zane is the guy who will work with you, and he will tell you what works and what doesn't work. And if you're going to go in there and piddle with 100, 200, or 300 clicks, don't. Okay. You might run a small test package, for 200 or 300 clicks, and you'll like the results. You'll get good results, but he won't run your link unless it's tweaked and the metrics are workable for his list. Okay. I have a saying that if your website metrics suck, your results are going to suck. Okay. Zane will work with you to make sure that your website doesn't suck so that you can get the maximum optimum results for your money. Okay. Because paid advertising is the only way you're going to grow your list. With listelevate.com, listelevate.makeyourself-recession-proof is my redirect. You can sign up under me. I think it'll just take you straight over to the sales page. I don't think, let's see, List Elevate, let me see, List Elevate, makeyourself-recession-proof.com. Yeah, it's a lead capture page. Okay. Lead capture page, it'll ask you for your first name and or your first name and an email address. Okay. And then it will redirect you over to the sales page. Now, the email will be sent to your email address. Use a real email address and it'll send you some information. I think there's only like 5, 6, 7 messages in the whole series. It goes out for maybe a week. I'm not going to pound you for 48 weeks. I'm just not going to pound you. Okay. If you don't get in there and get yourself a copy, fine. I'm not going to chase after you. I will send you the messages so that you can find it if you need it. You'll get about 5, 6, 7 messages, and that's about it. I'm not going to chase you and hound you. Why? Because I don't have to. Okay. You either see the value in this or you don't. Build your list. I don't care what business you're in. You can be in the book writing business, book selling business. You can be in the gun holster manufacturing business. You can be in crypto. You can be in health and wealth. You can be in, potions and lotions. I don't care. You can be in spirituality. I got a lady down in New Zealand. She writes stuff on spirituality and, Christian themes and stuff like that. There's a market for just about everything. If you want to write, great if you're a writer, but you don't have to be. Okay. So build your list. Go over to soloaduniverse.com, get you some clicks after you build your funnel. If you need some help building a funnel, get with me. I'll show you where you can get one. You can go over to the mastermarketersacademy.com. The Master Marketers Academy, okay, is Master Marketers Academy.com. MasterMarketersAcademy.com is a 3-part form. The phone is optional if you want me to call you. Okay. It's just enter your full name and a real working email address. The Master Marketers Academy is where we get down to the nitty-gritty and get under the covers and go into the deep dive. Okay. We have people in the academy that teach you how to make your first $10,000 or more in your first month. Okay. If you want to get serious about this, you can get into the Master Marketers Academy. It's going to cost you, I think, like $158 a month. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but you will need 2 resources to make this work. You got to have a resource to build websites and create your domains and get on these calls with us. And then you've got to have kind of a back end product. So once you start promoting, you can make that residual income. We're not looking at one-time upsells. You can get those if you want to. But if you don't invest in yourself, you're not going to, you're not going to get anywhere. If you go to the mastermarketersacademy.com, you'll see where it says the Master Marketers Academy is not for tire kickers. Okay. If you're not serious, don't sign up. Okay. Not a problem. No sweat off my back. I'm just here to help. All right. So that's my cheap plug. You want to do this? Do it right the first time. Don't spend 20, 25 years like me and some of the others have done. Okay. I started doing this back when I was in Tulsa back when I was about 43 years old. Took me a while to kind of get going. When the internet went live back in 96, became available to the public, I jumped in with both feet. Okay. Started learning as much as I could. My brother Jack, he did the same thing. If you go over to Jack's Facebook page, he's the big guy with the big cowboy hat and the big full white beard. He doesn't have long hair like me, but he kind of looks like Charlie Daniels, big guy, Charlie Daniels. Nancy, she got started back in 1997, just a year after the internet came online. And a buddy of mine was telling me about this over in JoJo's restaurant. He said, and this was back about 10 years before the internet came online. He's about 86. He was telling me, there's this thing called the internet. It's going to come online and everybody's going to have all these different computer systems talking to each other. And I said, baloney. I said, it'll never happen. Well, I saw him about 10 years later in the restaurant, and I said, well, Jim, you were right. I had to admit that I was wrong. So, and it's been, in the early years, it was like the Wild West. Technology has gotten a lot better, and it's gotten a lot more terse and maybe a little tighter on some of the requirements. Okay. But, get in there, do something about the change. Don't complain about it. Thank you for the birthday wishes, all of you. Love you all. Appreciate you. I know I don't get on here a lot. Too busy working. I got too many other irons in the fire. And if you ever want to give me a call, you got my phone number. You know how to get in touch with me. Or you can send me a message here on Facebook. Appreciate you sitting in and listening. And I'm going to call it a night or call it a day. Here it is, 8:56 a.m. We've been on for an hour and 13 minutes, and I'm going to call it a wrap. Thank you, and hope to see you in the next few days or the next few hours. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.